G'day everyone, welcome to Animal Tales with Tim Faulkner. That's me, and today I'm talking about Tawny Frogmouths. This is a Tawny Frogmouth. Now, they might look like an owl, but they're not, they're nightjars. And some of the differences are that they don't have those big talons, the claws that owls do. They just have little feet, and their beak is big enough to swallow their food whole. They live in the trees, and what you can see here is that they're incredibly camouflaged. Now, it might look like a subtle camouflage, but they freeze, just like this bird's doing here. And any predators that come past can't spot them. I can't spot them. They're really hard to see when they're in a tree like this because their feathers are like bark and different colours of the trees to blend in perfectly. Tawny Frogmouths are found throughout much of Australia. They live in eucalypt woodland. Some of that is wet and some of it is dry. It's not uncommon to see Tawny Frogmouths living in small family groups. Sometimes it's a male with two females, sometimes it's a mum and dad and their chicks. And what they will all do is sit there like this, and you'll have another bird here and another bird here, and they are perfectly camouflaged. They eat anything that's small enough to fit in their mouth, and they gobble it down whole. So mostly the diet is things like insects, but they will eat frogs and small mammals like mice. Have a look at these big eyes. They use them to hunt at night. Like most Australian animals, they don't need much water. They're really adapted to be in an environment that lacks water. Now, they get most of their water from the food that they eat. Tawny Frogmouths normally breed in spring. Now, a male and female a mum and dad have a really special bond. Now, when they do that, they build a stick nest high up in a tree, and they'll lay normally 1 to 3 eggs. Now, those little chicks hatch, and they're little white fluff balls. And mum and dad have got to change what they would normally eat so that they catch insects that are big enough to fit in the mouth of their chicks. Now, over the next months, the chicks grow up, and they begin to look like little versions of mum and dad. Now, after a few months, they fledge, and fledging is when they leave the nest. They take off. At that point, they hang around with mum and dad for a little bit longer, so they learn how to hunt, where to hunt, what to hunt, and then they're independent and on their own. Tawnies have this incredible camouflage for a reason. Animals have normally evolved or developed camouflage because they had to. If they didn't have it, their threats such as predators, and in the Tawny Frogmouth's case, it could be large pythons, goannas, dingoes, quolls, which are carnivorous marsupials. But when you've got camouflage like this, it makes you pretty safe. Tawnies are one of the survivors. Now, they can still be found in urban areas, in cities, and unfortunately sometimes, and you need to be careful, if someone puts out poison for a rat or mouse, and the tawny eats that rat or mouse, once it's eaten the poison, the Tawny Frogmouth can actually die. But they've been able to survive. They're found throughout much of Australia, but they're one of our backyard birds. I have a couple at my house, and to have a Tawny Frogmouth around, you'll normally know it because their call, the sound that they make goes woo, woo, woo. And when you hear that, you know you've got a tawny. That's when you get your torch and have a look. Some homework for you today is to draw a Tawny Frogmouth. And make sure you put the features in. I want you to put the picture in the comments below. But I want to see that big beak. These little whiskers up top are really sensitive. Don't miss the whiskers. Look at the big black and yellow eye. And make sure you get that camouflage all the way down to the tail. And small feet. They're not big like an eagle or an owl. They're nightjar feet. Thanks for watching, everyone. Now, the keepers and I are looking after all of our animals and our families. But we all have a bit of extra time at the moment, like you probably do too. So this is a great distraction for us, and hopefully you. If you like what you've seen or want to show me your homework, just put it into the comments. This is what I do, connecting people with nature, and that can't stop.